Hello neighbors, it's Brad here from eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at installing the TowSmart Trailer Hitch Receiver on a 2025 Hyundai Santa Cruz. The Santa Cruz is a pretty unique vehicle. It falls into kind of a similar category as the Maverick, where most people will say it's not a traditional truck, but the usability is really awesome. You get a bed so you can put a bunch of stuff back there, yet you can still fit adults. And so it really becomes a nice vehicle for doing some adventures. So whether you're doing some work or you're taking your bike out to the trail or going on vacation, adding a hitch is really going to open up as to what kind of real estate and what kind of jobs you can do with your Santa Cruz. And our TowSmart is going to be a great option. So let's take a look at it and get some more features, and then I'll show you how to get it installed. The finished product of the installed hitch is actually a really nice one. It's essentially going to be pretty well hidden. There's a small notch where the bumper goes up that you can kind of see a part of the hitch, but I don't think it takes away from the aesthetics at all. And functionality, you get your receiver tube opening and your safety chain loops nice and accessible, and it looks really good on this truck. And this one is a 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, which is essentially the standard for a lot of accessories. Most cars are going to have a hitch that's a 2" by 2". So what that means for you is if you're looking at bike racks, cargo carriers, or ball mounts, you'll have tons of options available. And all of those are going to stay in place with a 5/8 pin and clip. This is not included with the hitch, but a lot of times when you get accessories, they'll have those included for you. And if you plan on leaving your accessory on the back long term, maybe that bike rack for a whole biking season, I would maybe look at a locking pin and clip. That becomes a really good deterrent, and that way people aren't going to just be able to take that pin and clip and walk away with your accessories. Our safety chain loops are nice and accessible, so when towing a trailer, you can hook up a standard S-hook if you have those on your chains, or even a larger clevis style is going to work out just fine. Now, speaking of towing, this has some really good capacities. Your gross trailer weight rating is 5,000 pounds, which is going to be the weight of the trailer plus the accessories loaded onto it, and you have a tongue weight of 750 pounds. And tongue weight's mostly going to apply to suspended accessories. It's the pressure that's put on the inside of the receiver tube opening. So when you have bike racks and cargo carriers, those are suspended by that weight. And with 750 pounds, that equates to a 4-bike rack loaded up or a cargo carrier loaded up. So I really don't worry too much with those accessories that you're going to overload that. Now with the towing aspect, 5,000 pounds is a decent amount. And you do want to check the vehicle's owner's manual to make sure that it's capable of doing that. You're going to want to take the lowest number. So if your vehicle capacity is lower than the hitch, you're going to stay with that lower number, and the same goes for any accessories that you'll be putting on. Bike racks and cargo carriers can sometimes come in a vertical storage position, or you can stow it up, which is really nice. It doesn't just stay long on your vehicle. You can shorten that overall length down, but you want to make sure that it's going to be able to do that. So measuring from the center of our hitch pin hole to the furthest point of our fascia, it's about 3.5 inches. So I really don't worry too much that you're going to have any issues with things not being able to fold up, but also keep in mind as those are folded, you're probably not going to be able to open up your tailgate without folding those down. And it's very possible that it's going to block your backup camera as well as potentially your taillights and turn signals and license plate. So just something to keep in mind when you have those accessories on, that you are going to be blocking some of that visibility. Now, another important measurement is going to be our ground clearance, and that's not ground clearance of is the hitch going to bottom out. It's making sure that we get the proper ball mount for towing applications. So from the top of the receiver tube opening to the ground, we're coming in at 14 inches. So something that's important is making sure that it's level going down the road as you tow. So the best way to make sure that you get the proper rise or drop necessary is to measure from the ground to the top of the coupler of your trailer when it's level. Take that measurement and then compare that with the measurement we took on our ground clearance and do some math, and then you'll be able to figure out that rise or drop necessary to get it all level. More than likely, this is going to be a fairly straight shank, if maybe a little bit of an upswing, just to account for most trailers. It's kind of dependent on what you're going to be towing. And something else that I'll point out is getting an adjustable ball mount is going to alleviate that problem. Another thing is if you do have suspended accessories like your cargo carrier and bike rack, it is going to extend the vehicle length. So as you go up an incline, those can bottom out. So just keep that in mind when you see those steep inclines, or if you're going over harsh bumps, it might be something that will bottom those out. Just keep that in mind while driving. Now, chances are you're watching this video to determine whether or not you want to do this installation on your own or what's all involved. And I'm here to tell you that this is a fairly easy one to do. You can definitely do it in your driveway or garage. Give yourself about an hour or so, and you're gonna want an extra set of hands to help you get the hitch raised up. Beyond that, it's essentially gonna be lowering the spare tire, the muffler off its isolators, and then from there, you're really just raising up the hitch, putting the bolts in, tightening them down, and then torquing them. So with that being said, you are gonna need a torque wrench, 19mm socket, and really from there, it's pretty straightforward. And I'm gonna walk you through every step, and I'll give you some tips along the way to make sure that you get it installed properly. But throughout the video, if you decide, okay, I don't have the place, the time, the tools, or even the want to do this myself, I totally get it. Life happens, and sometimes it's just not something you want to tackle. But let someone else handle that for you so you can still get your hitch. You can reach out, finding someone near you with our dealer locator, and that way they can install the hitch for you. You can be on the road and start enjoying the use of your hitch. With that being said, you DIYers, stick around. Let's get this hitch installed. To get our installation rolling, we're going to want to get our spare tire lowered down. And if you've never done that on your Santa Cruz, that's a good thing. You haven't had a flat. But I'm going to show you where the tools are to gain access to be able to lower that down. And all of that's going to take place back in our bumper. That's where we have our hoist that holds that tire up. But the tools necessary, they're going to be located in the back seat. So I'll show you exactly where they're at. So if you raise up the back seat on the passenger side, you're going to find that you have a spare tire tool for your lug nuts, but also the extension that has a small hex, and that's what we're going to be using to lower down our tire. The circular cap that we have by our license plate, we're going to take a flathead screwdriver and open this up just counterclockwise. And then with our tool combination, we have this extension. We're going to put the smaller end. You should be able to get this to drop on the hex. If not, you can reach behind here and just guide that on. And then from here, we'll put our tire lug nut remover, I guess, wrench here. And we're just going to be lowering this down. Now we need to get a few things out of the way so our hitch can bolt up to the frame rails. And the first one we're going to tackle is going to be our muffler. So the holes that we're going to be using in the frame are above it and below it, so getting the hardware in and tightened down is going to be tricky with the muffler in the way. So to get this lowered down, it's actually pretty easy. We're going to be tackling 3 different isolators. We have one at the front, there's one in the back corner, and then one right on the cross member. And what we want to do as we remove these is support our exhaust. We don't want to have it hanging down. It can cause damage upstream. So if you're doing this on the ground or in your driveway, you can use the box that the hitch came in or a block of wood just to kind of keep support on that as we lower it. So being on a lift, I'm going to use a cam buckle strap here. This is going to create a nice cradle and again just support that exhaust as we lower it down. Now the isolators can get tricky over time. They're going to want to kind of fuse up and just not want to pop off easily. So if that's the case for you, a little soapy water or spray silicone goes a long way to lubricate it, make it a lot easier. And to get this front one off, just take a pry bar or a long flathead screwdriver, use this portion to pry, and then we can pop that off. Our back one here, a little tricky to get to, but you can use the hanger as leverage. So we're just going to pry this off. And then we'll head to our cross member. And once you pop this, just know that the exhaust is going to want to lower down. So here it's kind of free holding. I have my strap, supporting this here. So that opens up our passenger side. On the driver's side, it's actually fairly open, but you'll see that we do have this wiring that is going to probably be in the way. So we're going to want to remove the plastic clip, the one on the bottom here, as well as the one that we have a little bit higher up. And the best way to do that is using a trim panel tool. So pull down, try to get a gap underneath that. If not, you can just use this to pop out. If you don't have a trim panel tool, these are really handy, but generally a flathead screwdriver is also going to be a okay option for this. We're going to want to pull this back. That way we have clear access to these holes. Before we get our hitch raised up, something that we want to do is double check to make sure that our threads are going to be able to have our hardware passed in. So this is a newer vehicle, so there's no rust or corrosion built up, but living in the Rust Belt, a lot of vehicles with this style you can get that corrosion buildup, and that makes it really difficult to get the hardware started. Now, ours I can feed in by hand, and if that's the case for you, or you can at least get quite a few threads started, you should be okay. But if you run into a situation where it's just not wanting to thread in, what you might want to do is soak it with some penetrating oil, and using a tube brush, that's a good way to just kind of clean that out. A worst case scenario, you may have to get a tap with the similar threads to run that through. Hopefully that's not the case for you. So if yours all feeds in well, at this point, you're going to grab all of your hardware and an extra set of hands to get this hitch raised up. So at this point, I have Matt helping me get our hitch raised up. And what we're going to want to do is get at least one bolt and a conical tooth washer set up on each side, because our goal is to raise this up, get it aligned, and get some threads started. That way it'll hold the hitch up, making it easier to get the rest of the hardware in. So as we raise it, we're going to look for the holes to align, and a lot of times I'll do the bottom one. So I'll just thread this in by hand. You can see why this is important, to make sure those threads are clean. And as I put this one in and we get the other one started, that'll hold our hitch up. To get the other side bolts into the frame rail, you may have to push the hitch up, or you can tighten that lower bolt. But we're going to get these threaded in by hand as well. So we'll get all 6 bolts threaded in place. Now once they're all started by hand, we can snug this down with a 19mm socket. And I recommend doing the bottom ones first, because that'll draw the hitch up and really get those side bolts to align a little bit better. So we'll just zing these in. We don't need to get crazy, because we're going to come back with a torque wrench to properly torque them down. Now coming back with our torque wrench, we're going to use the same socket, and the torque settings are going to be found in the instructions. Now it doesn't come with paper instructions, but on your hardware bag there's going to be a QR code, and if you scan that, that'll bring the instructions up and give you that torque setting. Torque wrench that we're going to be using, you can get away with a 3/8 here to match that torque setting, but this is really going to be important, especially with weld nuts. You want to make sure that you don't overdo it, because you can cause damage to them, and that's going to make for a hitch that's not going to be entirely secure. So just use the torque wrench to get those numbers, and if you need a torque wrench, you can generally go to an auto parts store and rent one for free. So we'll go through, and we're going to torque all 6 bolts down to that torque setting. Now once all of that hardware is properly torqued down, well, you've officially installed your hitch. All that's left to do is get your exhaust put back in those isolators, take down your support strap, and then from here, you're going to want to put your spare tire up as well. Don't forget that. But we'll put it in our pin and clip, our accessories, and we're ready to hit the road and start enjoying the hitch on our Santa Cruz. Hopefully this video was helpful in getting the hitch installed on your Santa Cruz, and throughout the process, if you came up with some things that maybe I didn't hit on well, or you have better tips and tricks, or if the video was helpful, whatever it may be, leave us some feedback. We love to take a look at those comments. It really helps us for the next time we make a video to get the best possible content out there for neighbors like you, so you can get your hitch installed and enjoy those adventures. Speaking of adventures, if you're out and about and using your hitch, towing a trailer, got your bike rack on, send us some pics. We love to see those, and it also helps other Santa Cruz owners start to realize what else they can do with their vehicle. My name's Brad. Thanks for watching.